Hi, everyone.
Everyone,
Hello, hello.
Hey, we are going to wait for a couple of minutes just for everybody to join. And in the meantime, for those who are joining us, thank you so much for being here. We're very excited to have this AMA today because this is a very hot button topic, I think all over internet and on LinkedIn and Twitter especially. I constantly see tweets and LinkedIn posts about how many applications people have to send out in order to get just one invitation to an interview. And I'm not sure if it's actually a reality, but it looks like that, right?
I'm sure it is, and I'm sure it's not just in Web3 or for a specifically developer role. I think it's in general in recruitment, and yeah, sometimes I've been there as well. I remember a couple of years ago, I was looking for a job, and I've got this spreadsheet where I was basically recording every single role that I have applied to. And after 6 months, I realized that I had applied to about 400 plus roles. And you realize that you only get one out of those 400. So it's a religiously it's a full-time job. To look for a job, it's a full-time job. Would you agree, Owen?
absolutely 100%. And yeah, no, 100% agree. Couldn't be more true. And again, I always say to candidates that recruiters can help you, but ultimately your best recruiter is you. And especially within the blockchain context, I guess your network is your network. So any job search, yes, apply, but also adopt a multi-chain approach, for example, for use of a better term, I guess. Yeah, so try and reach out to people maybe already working there, reach out to the hiring manager, various different things like that. And yeah, I'll try. A good word goes a long way, I would say, in this industry. And yeah, it's fiercely competitive. Yeah, so a good resume will obviously be great. A good portfolio will be great. And yeah, for context, I guess I think the security firm Hacken, I believe, had 15 or 1600 applicants for 10 internships over the summer. Um, on a on another
Crazy.
level, then Coinbase, I understand, had something like they're on target for something like 1.5 million applicants this year alone. So yeah, yes, it is very competitive.
Oh my
Yes,
God.
any string to your bow will definitely help. Yeah,
Yeah. So
and the
in
big thing
this
is obviously tough
AMA,
skill. Yeah.
yes. Right. That's why we've decided to put together this AMA where we ask the hiring experts, I'm going to introduce in a couple of minutes, about basic rules on how to make resumes stand out, how to draft them, how to craft them in order to make them land you the job, and maybe not the job, but at least the interview for the job. So we've waited for 5 minutes, and I think we are going to start now. So first, let me go through a brief agenda for today. First, we are going to go through quick introductions. Then we'll dive into the live resume reviews and some practical tips on how to improve them. And finally, we'll open it up for a Q&A so you can get your specific questions answered. And feel free to ask your questions in the comment section, but we've also collected some of the questions beforehand. And now I'm super excited to welcome our speakers today, Owen Healy and Ilya Shvetsov. We couldn't have asked for a better duo to guide us through this session. So could you please introduce yourselves, guys?
Oh, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Yeah. So I do Web3 recruitment, approaching the 5 year mark in the industry, and very grateful to be in the situation that I'm in, working in an industry that I love, um, meeting great people on a daily basis, and obviously going to various different conferences throughout the year as part of my job. And yeah, work with a lot of different projects. across various different ecosystems like Solana, Ethereum, Bitcoin, and yeah, work with various different exchanges and market makers as well. And yeah, I'm thinking 30, I've hired people from 33 different countries as well. So it's a globally diverse industry, which is absolutely fantastic as well. And again, yeah, do a lot of posting on LinkedIn as well, I guess, as well. So yeah, no, yeah, pleasure to be here and look forward to giving any tips or tricks that I can. Yeah.
Thank you, and I must say I was so pleasantly surprised to see you in the agenda, because we used to work with Owen together on a couple of projects, and I couldn't wish for a better companion in this online session. So thank you very much for supporting us. As for me, I'm Ilya. I'm the people director at Neon, but I have been in HR for nearly probably 18 years across different countries and continents. I've built startups, I've built big enterprises, and for the last, 2.5 years, I've been with Neon EVM. Totally agree, Owen, that this industry is so amazing. First of all, it's so global. We had people from 35 countries in our team, and it's absolutely amazing, diverse team. The development team surely is the biggest. So we've had some bit of the talent acquisition and recruitment in the dev team. So I wouldn't call myself an expert, but I've seen and I've done stuff in this space. So yeah, happy to be here and happy to support our customers and developers.
Thank you so much. All right, let's get into it. And we'll start with the resume reviews and tips section, so that you can understand that this tip isn't maybe the best, or is it? Okay, let's go into it. And Owen and Ilya, over to you to walk us through the first resume and share your thoughts on what works, what could be improved, and how to better highlight the skills that we have.
Sure.
So
yeah, I'll take this one. Again, I guess in the AI especially era, we can all tweak and adjust the CVs. But I think the main thing to remember that there is such thing as application tracking system. So basically the system that collects all your applications from multiple job boards into one place. And they normally are set up a very specific way. And sometimes when you get too creative about your CV, that just may not be read by the application tracking system, and basically even the first line recruiter would not see your application. So it's always better to check what the standard is in your country or in the country you're applying to. Normally, like looking at this CV, for example, the top right part, basically professional summary, it's very wordy, I would say. It's very like explicit, and it's got bullet points. What I would change first of all is to make it more concise and more like as a story, like a short story, rather than bullet points as if you're going through your actual experience in one of the companies. That's number one. Number two, skills. I would probably leave in the last section. And break it down into like a more specific, I don't know, the what's the word? Like soft skills is good, like education, what certificates, what like extra training and development you've taken, technical skills, that's good. But yes, the top thing I would keep very concise, story, and then skills move down into the CV. If you can move next. What else I noticed is there is very little, like development teams are often the core of any project in Web3 or in any like tech startup or company. And I think what the talent teams or recruiters are always looking for is the impact that this particular candidate or role has got onto the project. So what I'm often missing in CVs is what you've changed, or what, like, have you've impacted the project or the product or the tech part, rather than like what you did as in your job description. So your CV shouldn't be just the job description, but it should be what
Yeah.
you've changed or have you've developed into something. So such verbs as enabling, like ensuring, delivering, they will always help catch those highlights for recruiters to see what you can bring into this new role they're looking for.
May I ask a follow-up? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, sorry. Yeah. No, I just wanted to elaborate a few things as well on that. I guess, yeah, there's, I guess, scope for improvement with this particular resume. There's no doubt about that. The first part with the professional summary previously is very generic, to say the least. And yeah, and I guess, yeah, phone numbers, wouldn't be a big advocate for putting phone numbers in resumes personally. But yeah, again, something that's very common with non-native speakers is the distinction between past tense and present tense in a resume. Again, this guy comes from a development background, so not as important, I would say, but still, nonetheless, you want to get the fine tuning correct. It's particularly embarrassing when you see copywriters in the industry not make the distinction. But again, for example, in this guy's resume, for example, I like what he did with university projects, but try and show a bit more, maybe proof of work, try and get a bit more involved offline. Attend a few virtual hackathons or maybe in-person hackathons, show GitHub links, for example, then resulting from that. Yeah, did a good job here, for example, albeit the past versus present tense thing, but we won't highlight too much about that. But yeah, I guess what I'm just trying to elaborate is try and integrate maybe in his achievements on his. I just noticed there with Africa Innovate that he worked on an emailing system. Well, what was the net benefit from that emailing system that he helped implement? Quantitative data helped the hiring manager and the person reading it to visualize the net impact that that person have achieved, and ultimately frame basic duties as achievements a bit more in his resume. So, and that'll lead him to better success in the subsequent interview as well, because the questions will be more tailored, because the hiring manager will have read the resume and ask specific questions that will play into the person's strength. Yeah, so yeah, that was my 2 cents anyway. Yeah.
Can I just double check? So regarding the past and present tense, so any past experience should be in the past tense, right? And then if you're still working in your last company, should it be continuous or should it be the present tense?
Yeah, so I would say continuous in the vast majority of cases, yeah.
Cool, right? Noted.
Thank you. And may I return to my question? It was a follow-up to this idea that you should highlight your achievements and the impact that you've you've contributed. And I was wondering how to do that without making a very long resume, because for example, as a beginner developer, you usually just build a parser, for example, or web crawler or something like that, where something very a small day-to-day mundane task that you have to do. And first of all, you don't usually know the whole impact of the tasks that you do. And second, if you try to elaborate on that, that usually takes about like 2 sentences, maybe. How do you go about it? How to do it successfully?
From my perspective, I think why I said in the beginning that looking for a job is a full-time job, because it takes your whole day, because you need to adapt every application to the role that you're applying to. So like it's it's not great if you're just sending the same resume to all the roles that you're applying to. You need to be not creative, but you need to understand what that company is looking specifically for and adjust your CV. So instead of these 4 bullet points, for example, you can swap them for other, like more specific to this particular project. And you don't need like 3-4 sentences. Sometimes you need just 2 that would hit right into the like core skills and knowledge that we as the company are looking for, and that would be enough.
Yeah, and ultimately I can understand your frustration with regards to that, because not everything is. I come from a HR background, and I remember in early COVID looking for HR jobs, and yeah, not every when you're rolling out HR initiatives, not everything can be quantifiable, and yeah. So, but that being said, with regards to that, yeah, have a good GitHub or portfolio, and ultimately show proof of work, but also show independent thinking with those proof of with various different GitHub repos that you do as well. And yeah, yeah, but again, yeah, there sometimes it isn't always easy to quantify basic tests.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I also realized that probably asking for KPIs and something like that is also a very good idea while you're working, so that you can then add them to your resume.
Yeah, it's also sort of helps you be a part of something bigger than your everyday routine that you come and do like on a daily basis, but understanding where it goes to. I think it's just needed for yourself to be a part of something bigger.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, shall we move to the next one?
Sure.
Okay, this is the second resume.
Yeah, so I can take this. So yeah, so yeah, I noticed on the resume just before the call that the person said that he did a 4-month internship with Web3 Bridge. Now he said on the resume, yeah, sorry, it says that he's been there from January to April. Now, is that 3.5 months or 4 months? And that sounds very, very tedious. But ultimately, you'll often speak to candidates saying that I have 7 years marketing experience full time, and then you do the math, and it's like, no, it's not. It's 6. It's 5.5. What are you? And sometimes numbers just don't add up. So that would be a small little thing, that tedious thing that I would allude to. Yeah, if he's putting in location, for example, just put in the city and country, no more than that. But yeah, good use of it as accessible links. And yeah, ultimately, he mentioned it's an internship. So yeah, for people that might be separately, for people that may be jumping from job to job, for example, there's like there might be layoffs, pivots, restructuring issues, funding issues with various different Web3 projects. Just maybe for people with different types of experience, just put a line beside it to see what happened. But he has an internship down, great. And yeah, just with regards to he's relatively new out of university, and I feel that, like the first resume, it is a little bit too wordy, trying to get more on the page than what is required. I would say a good one pager for this particular person could be better. I would like to just again come back to his second page of his resume. He did say that sorry, so like again, just if there's any kind of links to the project at Belgrade, for example, or the Arbitrum project, I would definitely them in there. And yeah, like this person is somebody that ultimately needs a bit more experience, but is definitely going about it in the right direction. He's participating in the community, he's doing the internships, and yeah, I would be, yeah. It's a good profile. He demonstrates definite proof of interest, which is amazing. And I guess what I would maybe say to that person is maybe just one page maybe is a bit more efficient for this person, but also kind of from a, not everything is about the resume. And ultimately, if he's going or she is going for a uh, smart contract engineering role, for example, might be lost among the pile for not having a lot of postgraduate experience. So this is where the person needs to ultimately utilize and build his or her own network simultaneously as well. Reach out to the hiring managers, start participating in a few more projects. If a project maybe is recipient to an ecosystem grant, for example, and that he or she really likes, start doing some work pro bono, build some more contacts, get his or her word out there within the community. Again, as you can attest to, it's a very small global village that we work in, so a good word will go a long way. And ultimately, this person, hopefully in the not too distant future, will have then people advocating for him or her, which will be absolutely great. And yeah, no, this person is going about it the right way, and yeah, hopefully, yeah, yeah. I don't know how else to say, but I'd love to know Elias' thoughts. Yeah.
If I may, a couple of words. It's just back to the ATS, the application tracking system.
Oh, yeah.
I would probably avoid the emojis, in your CV,
Oh, yeah.
because again, they could be like the reason why your CV hasn't got to the recruiter. Because yes, it's pretty and it's probably very Web3, but not on the CV. It will just probably like ruin your application, and in the sense of that it wouldn't be reached to the key people. So yeah, it's just about the standard in your like generally, I don't know, Owen, if you would agree, but like in Europe, yes, every country has got something different, but in general,
Yeah.
the template is more or less standard.
Yeah.
And like you've got the top, which is more like a summary, like a story, a little story of yours, and then it goes down into your experience and background and skills.
Yeah.
Education is in the last section. But no pictures or no, emojis or anything creative, too creative. That could be, just
Yeah. It always surprises me when I always do this basically whenever I see kind of skill graphs on a resume, especially on a sidebar in a double column resume. I'm like, you are so shooting yourself in the foot. Just these first two resumes haven't had double columns in them, thankfully, but double columns in ATS, no. And from a recruitment perspective as well, it's not always the best candidate that gets the job. Sometimes it's sometimes it's the person with the best resume. Sometimes it's the person with the best network. That's the harsh reality. So double column resumes don't help with the ATS system. I'm so sorry to say it. And yeah, just from I guess the first half, the first page of any resume is the most important, because ultimately you have probably 5-6 seconds, especially like say for example those 1.5 million applications in Coinbase. Like, you'd be very naive to think that those recruiters are looking for the best candidates straight away. They're looking to eliminate the bad ones, and the ATS has helped them. And then it's a case of, okay, then let's find the best candidates from a shortlist that we've created. So yeah, I would try and get the first half of your first page of your resume is absolutely crucial. That's the hook to get someone to keep scrolling down, explore further, have the links accessible. And if your double column resume, 2 seconds have gone, or a second and a half has gone, squinting your eyes to say whether do I look right, do I look left. Small little tedious things, but if you're looking at hundreds and even maybe even 1,000 resumes a day, well, yeah, those small little things do make a difference.
Yeah, always like the devil is in the details, isn't it? So that's that devil that you need to take care of when you're building too creative CV. Also, maybe just a quick note, going back to adjusting every application to a specific role that you're applying to. There are AI tools right now that basically, like as Owen said, there could be like 500 applicants to one role. So how do you like choose through those 500? So there are AI tools that help you rank all the applicants based on the criteria that are critical for this particular role. So if you do not highlight those particular criteria that the hiring company, indicated as that's what they were looking for, your CV might go just last instead of going on the top 10 or 100. So that's again very critical to make sure that you apply for a specific role and sometimes you rewrite your CV based on those criteria to be in the top, whatever, 10, 100 applicants.
I love it when there's emails, rejection emails after carefully reviewing your resume. Not all resumes are carefully considered, trust me.
Yeah, after carefully rejecting your resume.
By the way, I was also wondering if those AI systems that HRs use can reject the resumes that are written by AI as well. Is there such a thing, or am I imagining things?
I mean, I don't have high hopes that people don't use AI. I hope they do. I hope they use AI. Like it helps, but you need to use it wisely. It saves tons of time, and I really do hope that people using that. I wouldn't reject any CV if it fits the role, if it matches the criteria, because it seems like, yes, sometimes you can recognize that, especially like living in the UK where you don't have Z's, right? In some of the verbs, we've got S's, like organization, for example, right? We spell it S rather than Z, but AI normally does it with the Z. So you can guess that probably it's been done by AI, but bless them, that's fine. As long as it works for like this particular case, I don't mind. I wouldn't reject it.
I'd be optimistic about how AI can help recruitment as well, in terms of, for example, like agentic AI, maybe like if somebody was, I think it might help maybe recruiters kind of hire a bit more for soft skills. For example, maybe somebody was a founder or managing large teams for quite a period of time. The subsequent AI could prompt a recruiter to say, okay, can this person actually be a team player? Things like that. So, yeah, I don't know what your thoughts would be, Ilya, but it's an interesting evolving space, I find.
I think recently I think I even liked that post on LinkedIn about somebody saying, we have rejected this person twice based on the CV. We rejected and he knocked at the window now, and we rejected him again. But because he was so persistent and he went to the hiring manager, to the like HR, recruiter, etc. So we decided to meet that person and we hired him, and he's smashing every single month. So like a one-pager or a two-pager would never replace the chemistry and the conversation. So again, back to probably what Owen said, like first half of the CV is critical to not to land your job, as you said, Julia, but to land your first interview where you could shine and seduce every recruiter and hiring manager into continuing this conversation.
And speaking about the first part of the resume, some people usually attach, not usually, but sometimes attach their photos. Do you recommend to stay away from attaching photos?
Never. Like, I guess we were both like, no, never. So basically anything that can reveal your I don't know, gender, your age, your like background sometimes. Every country, for example, every country has got such thing which is called bias characteristics. Basically, it's the questions that in this country is prohibited to ask during the interview, not like to make sure that the decision about hiring is not biased. So, for example, in the UK, there are 8 bias characteristics. In France, I think there are 18. So there are 18 prohibited questions like religion, sometimes university, sexual preferences, your whatever nationality, your origin, etc. So nothing that can reveal any of those should be mentioned, on your CV. And again, that differs from country to country. East European countries are more into pictures, age, gender, like, the country I'm coming from, it's everything, it's almost like you are on display. When moving more west, it's nothing. Otherwise, again, ATS would not let it in. And, anybody, basically why this happens, somebody can sue that they have been rejected because of the gender, for example, or because of, I don't know, race, or because I'm a, person of color and, you're being racist. So just to protect themselves, companies recommend to not do that.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point. And yeah, like again, I often laugh when some startups, for example, can often, I've seen it more than once, unfortunately, where they look for kind of young and hungry people, and I just, oh, no, you can't do that. I'm not, if I'm not mistaken, I think there's 9 grounds of discrimination in Ireland as well, from remembering from my HR days. Things like age, gender, marital status, um, sexual orientation, etc., etc. But yeah, no, just yeah, we can have a diversity talks maybe some other day. I'm in Web3, but yeah, no, just back to the photo. Just come back to the photo as well on a practical level as well. It takes up a bit of real estate. You want to get what you've achieved, not what you've looked like. So yeah, just don't, like, again, if you're putting a photo in there, again, come back to the 5 or 6 seconds and probably looking at your photo for the first 2 seconds. That's 2 seconds gone. And yeah, it just takes up valuable real estate as well. Sorry.
True.
Thank you so much. I've never realized it was such a deep topic. I thought it was just due to ATS that we don't attach photos. But yeah, amazing. Thank you.
Oh,
shall we move to the third one?
Yeah, I can take this one. This is like this is like a book.
Yeah.
It takes, well, first of all, what strikes you immediately is the 4-page thing. Again, back to what Owen mentioned, how many seconds you've got to go through the CV. 4 pages is just too many, I guess. Also, I don't know, my personal preference is probably what happened back in 2012, maybe even 15. Like, it's not, I mean, it is relevant. If that was like a great experience, please keep it, but keep it short. Like keep it just the name of your role, the name of the company, and maybe 1, 2 major achievements. But it's not like 4, 5, 6 bullet points in every role, beyond 2015 probably. So that would be my advice. Number 1. Number 2, again, back to the top first half of the CV. There is no story, like there is no intro into this, and it seems like a very good profile because it's got 20 plus years of experience. Like it's very compared probably to the previous one, it's more experienced. It's more like you want to dig deeper into this CV, but you need to brush it up a little bit. And first of all, again, the first part should be your story in 3, 4 sentences. And then, like, from what I've scanned so far, it sounds a little bit maybe dated. I don't know. I would make it more like blockchain Web3 relevant in terms of language, in terms of like the projects and like the keywords. I think that's what I'm looking for. The keywords are always very critical to land a job that you want. And again, copying those, like how you do now with AI. You're basically taking your CV, you're uploading your CV, you adding a link to the role, and you're asking AI to rewrite your CV according to the role. Because what we used to do, or I used to do 3-4 years ago, I used to like change my CV based on the keywords that the role, like the role description has in it. So I would to make sure that those are highlighted in my CV. Now it's so easy. So I would add more, maybe modern language into the CV, and add more keywords into the experience in every single project. If you yeah, again, education, achievements, awards, I would move like to the end of the CV, because yes, that is great, but that's not what I would hire you for probably. So I wouldn't waste, as Owen says, like those precious first seconds on, you know, scanning your achievements and awards in your high school probably. And you know, some people are so, and I understand that some people are so proud of, you know, 57 certificates that they've, you know, gotten on LinkedIn or on Udemy, and they want to add all of them. But really, we're hiring for like specific skill for this role, not for your awards and achievements. So I would move that down in the CV. The same with the key technologies used, especially when there are 30 of them. So move them down. From what I haven't yet said, probably for each role, I would keep it, again, concise, maybe 4 or 5 bullet points, not 10. Again, there is a lot that you can be proud of and what you've done, but keep it relevant for this particular role, and you know, highlighting the impact rather than everything you've done. Again, the role can be very broad. It could be for a very long time. I don't know, you were taking that role for 7 years. You want to put all your 7 years into that point, but probably it's not worth for this particular vacancy. So keep it like 3-5 bullet points and very specific for this role.
And Ilya, I'm just with regards to like experiences like even 10 years ago, surely a one liner just saying where he worked or she worked and the dates could suffice.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, so this particular, like this is already 2012. I wouldn't even bother. I mean, I have that CV saved somewhere with like 12 and 8, but then it's just, I guess, your experience and maybe even the projects, the complexity of projects that you worked like 2 years ago are better, more sophisticated, and more relevant than what you used to work on in 2012. So it's probably sometimes even not worth mentioning. Yeah, it's 2008. So yeah, a very thorough book that I would, you know, make a summary of and rewrite to a more modern Web3 blockchain language, more impact, reduce the amount of bullet points in each role to 3-5 relevant. Get rid of anything beyond 2016 into just one line, role and company and dates, skills, tech stack used, awards, certification down in the CV. Yeah.
I've also noticed that there are technologies used under each listing. Yeah. So should we remove that if we want to?
Yeah, I would, especially if you have that section already, you know, in the end. Yeah, just use the space wisely. You need 2 pages, 3 if you've got 20 years of experience at most, including your awards, certifications, and Oscars, whatnot. So yeah, definitely remove.
And about awards and certifications, does it make sense at all to include them, or should they just be left in LinkedIn profile, for example?
I don't think I've ever really looked into
No, we don't scroll
them.
down that often.
No, yeah. Yeah, it's not that careful consideration. Yeah, like LinkedIn is fine. In most, like 99% of the cases, we would go into the LinkedIn page where you can keep those, always live. I wouldn't really waste that space on the CV to list all of them, at least.
And probably the same would go for all the experiences the person had, right? You could list all the experiences you had in your LinkedIn profile, and here keep only the most relevant ones.
Yeah, that works as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that might be a good compromise if you still want to keep them somewhere on display. Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. Shall we move to the last one? Okay, fourth resume.
Yeah, brilliant. So what I loved about this resume is that this person, like the the guy that participated in East Belgrade, is that she is demonstrating proof of work. I always have to be careful of my pronouns because, again, unfortunately, 90% or 90
Let's
plus
use
percent of
they.
the developers that I work with, unfortunately, are male. But yeah, this person is demonstrating proof of work, contributing very much to the industry, and yeah, very, very much a person that you'd like to see do well, because just again, proof of work is key, and is already laying down the foundations for his or her success. Yeah, so again, like the line underneath the Bachelor of Computer Science, University of UYO, just one line, doesn't need to be elaborated on underneath. Studied core computer science topics. Like, that's just a way. That bullet point is a waste of a bullet point, to be perfectly frank with you. The big thing that I would take away from this resume is, I want a link to a portfolio. I want to see that I want to see the content created that this person did as an ambassador for Cypher and Updraft. Um, that's what I really want to gather from this. Can this person write and frame good content? Um, Obviously, Cypher have a good reputation for nurturing and helping people in that particular vertical. So I just want to see the educational content. So I'd love to see maybe links or hyperlinks to that educational content. It could feature at the top of the person's resume. And yeah, for all we go, for all we can elaborate on, um, ATS systems and the perfect resume. Again, this person is just finished college over 1 year. It's, if you haven't maybe, and I'm generalizing here, of course, but if the person hasn't maybe 3 years experience, it's going to be difficult for that person to get a job just via the ATS alone. So that person needs to go out into the community that he or she is already doing, also networking with the right individuals, and yeah, showing his or her work to the community, and have people in the community advocating for him or her. So ultimately, as well as job searching, as well as applying, as well as tailoring the resume, networking, being active on LinkedIn, Twitter, Discord, um, could be, yeah, even contributing to neon tracks and hackathons, for example, elaborating them. Who knows? But yeah, yeah, ultimately, yeah, reaching out to hiring managers, reaching out to CTOs. I'm sure, Julia, that you can attest that events like Eat Belgrade, Eat Dublin, Eat Warsaw, they're fantastic for getting to meet hiring managers, senior engineers, CTOs that ultimately decide what developers are hired onto their teams. And yeah, if you can go to one or two of those events, great. Participate in more virtual hackathons. There's a lot of grants going in the Web3 meets AI space as well at the moment. Participate in some of those projects that are getting those grants as well. And I think that you'll be setting yourself up for a lot of success in the next year to 18 months if you do that. So yeah, I don't know, I'm talking too much and I'll just let really take on from here.
Yeah, thank you
But
so
yeah,
much.
no,
Absolutely.
it's
Sorry.
an okay resume. It is
Oh,
an okay resume. It does show
sorry.
participation. Oh, sorry.
Let me finish then. I think I totally agree with Owen. Nothing to add. A very concise, nice looking with proof of work. Yeah, a couple of things missing, as in like links to the portfolio. Maybe at the beginning of the CV could be a bit different, as we spoke before about like a little story about yourself. But in general, that's a very solid CV, and yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. Sorry, I had a connection issue, but everything's fine
Okay.
now. Yeah, I wanted to elaborate on what Owen said about hackathons, because they not only give you the network, but also they give you those links to the finished projects that you can have in your resume. And you can stay in the community, you can keep building and, of course, networking, getting to know other developers, building with them, joining them in their projects. And this is actually a great learning track as well, because you get to see what kind of new technologies they use, what kind of new ideas they generate. And yeah, I'm a big ambassador of hackathons in general. And yeah, for CVs, definitely. So now let's move to the Q&A section. First question, what kind of experience is considered relevant for a blockchain developer? And what should I add to my resume to be hired as a blockchain developer, of course?
That is vague. Yeah, so I guess what experience is considered. Yeah, so obviously, I guess time in the field is the most obvious thing. Contributions to various different projects, participation, again, as alluded to earlier, demonstrated proof of work, accessible links to GitHub portfolios, and or repos, and again, very, very, very vague question. So I guess the tools and technologies that you've worked on previously, the achievements, and but that's a very vague question. Yeah.
If I can add,
Yeah.
I think what was different, and it took me maybe a while to understand that in my current company, it's about the mindset as well. So probably I spent most of my first year at Neon talking to our CTO to understand like the task and like the tech assignment. And what he kept telling me was that it's not about changing the code or like writing a line of code. It's what this line changes in the user experience. Like it's a bit bigger. Like when we spoke in the beginning about the impact, this is probably a bit of about that, like the impact. And we were rejecting a lot of candidates that basically ticked all the boxes on the CV, like low language, I don't know, Rust, C++, this, that. But when you start talking to them, you understand that they've never really solved a bigger problem. It's about the scope of solution that they've built and whether they have that understanding. And once we've realized that with the CTO, I think we even hacked this role, because we realized that we don't even need Rust in our criteria, because you can learn Rust if you've got any other like low language on your portfolio, but it's about the mindset. So again, ticking all the boxes from the CV, but then landing your first interview, and that's when you speak about the mindset and the scope of task that you've solved. I think that would be a major difference, because that's what probably projects are looking for if you've solved those like assignments before.
That is such an interesting angle. And could you give an example of how to differentiate between a skill like Rust, which you can simply add to a resume, and this kind of mindset? How can you demonstrate it in their resume?
I think it's just, I think it's, I appreciate it's hard in one line, but I think not just saying, I don't know, coded, but like did this to what? Enable, change, optimize. So show that one level up, what it changed, one level up on the user, especially if you're building something for the end users, right? What it changed in the whole project, how your impact helped the product developed. I think that would already help to for the recruiter to say, aha, this is something more than just, okay, give me the task, done, next. So it's something here that keeps you curious about what it changes in the whole structure.
And by the way, I have just also realized that you can get this kind of experience of understanding what your Rust code changed in a project when you participate in a hackathon, and you get to build this kind of proposal that you have to submit at the end with your project. And I think this could be a transferable skill from participating in hackathons to building your resumes and highlighting this kind of mindset, this founder kind of mindset.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's not just networking, but it's I think it's expanding your background. Like you see so many different projects trying to solve something, right? Like all startups, initial idea is to solve the pain, to cure the pain that they found in the industry. So that should sort of help you get more into the why behind this line of code.
Yeah.
And I guess to add to that as well, I guess, for example, a good way for maybe more junior candidates on their resume as well, to help them get jobs or even get experience, is to ultimately showcase on their resume how they can save the CTO or the lead engineer time. How can they be a force multiplier? Obviously, many people will say AI can do that now, but that isn't obviously the case.
Yep. Okay, moving to the next question. What are the key projects to add in my resume to be shortlisted as a blockchain developer? So maybe you could have some examples of blockchain projects that could help.
Projects.
I'm as if I'm struggling a little bit with this one.
Yeah,
I think it just should be relative. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on, Owen.
No, for example, the guy or the girl that participated in the eBelgrade project, on the second resume, if that person was going for a job within the Solana ecosystem, obviously I'd be highlighting that considerably. And yeah, so again, things like that. But again, I'm just trying to get an angle to this question, if I'm being perfectly honest. Yeah.
I think it's just back to, again, you can't just send out your standard one template CV to all the roles. It should be relevant for this particular role. And if you're applying for, I don't know, Ethereum project, but you've got all the Solana projects on your CV, probably it wouldn't make sense unless you want to change the industry, right? Yeah, I think it's just about being relevant for this particular role.
And probably they should be blockchain related projects, not data scientist, for example, projects.
I think data scientists can show your, again, mindset. Like it gives you some broader perspective, that you probably had to dig deeper into, like the core of things, right? So it's more like academic background. It shows your like spacious mindset, probably. Not always, but yes, if you were into that, probably. So you've got this curious mind that we're always looking for. So I wouldn't mind putting like data scientist, because it gives you some background, some foundation, probably, which is good.
All right. Okay, moving to the next one. Should I include my data scientist job experience
There
in
you
my
go.
backend dev resume? But yeah, specifically for the backend, I guess just transferable Python skills.
Yeah. You probably be able to better answer this than anyone, but I'm assuming that programming languages, tools, maybe, I don't know, system knowledge, just include as much as that as possible. You probably might have more technical expertise to add to that, you know.
I mean, I've never worked as a backend dev, so I wouldn't know, but I did some data scientist kind of related jobs when I just started out, because I started out as a computational linguist and I had to write web crawlers and stuff like that to analyze data. But I guess that Python would be relevant for backend. And other than that, well, dealing with data, that also kind of relevant for backend. For example, you have to work with, for example, with the graph or with MVO if you work in blockchain, and get the data from blockchain into the backend and then into the front end. So that would make sense then. That's how I see it.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, moving to the next one. How to start career in Web3 if I'm a backend developer? Where to find a job?
Online.
Yeah, there's a lot of great resources, out there.
Yeah, I think startups is always a good way to get into a new field. Like if you've got great experience, even as a backend developer, like we've got the whole, backend team, right? So it doesn't contradict whether it's backend or Web3. So it could be both. But yeah, online, LinkedIn, we've got lots of like Telegram channels, job search. Yeah.
Okay, simple as that. Just go online.
Try and build some network, whether it's on person or online. It's common sense. I don't know.
Actually, I think we haven't spoken about this yet, but referrals, for example, is a very great, and I think very few people, like, and have a handful of people know and use that, but a lot of companies, even our company, we've got the referral program. Like if you refer someone, depending on the level of the role, you get some bonus paid out after the probation period. So what you do as a candidate, you reach out to random people from the company you want to join, asking, look, like I'm applying to this role, I'm really interested in, I've got this great experience, if you've got a referral, maybe we could, and it's a win-win. The person in the company gets the bonus, and a great talent can land their dream job, and make that switch to Web3, for example. So lots of companies, especially startups, they've got this referral program, and you should just use it.
And it goes back to networking, because to get referred, you have to know the person who refers you.
Yeah. Like many people would at least, ask you a couple of questions, but it's also your brand, right? You're referring someone you don't know, so you want to make sure that at least they're decent, and they are from like their background. So yeah.
Yeah. Is it okay to reach out to people on LinkedIn and ask for referrals?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
just maybe try and have a virtual coffee maybe first, a tailored message when you're making the connection. Yeah, and yeah, the good thing about this industry is that there's a lot of people willing to help, and ultimately, when they agree to help, um, yeah, show your worth accordingly and have them advocate for you. But no, that's the great thing about this industry. A lot of people do try and lift each other up. So yeah, no.
Yeah.
I think in
It's
this
true.
case, you just need to be human. Like, reaching out to unknown people, asking for help is just being human. And yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The next question: does a resume have to be 1 page long?
No. Well, it depends on your experience. But no, it doesn't have to be 1 page. But if you're just starting, it will be probably 1 page. It doesn't have to be 4 pages either. But yeah, it's just sensible. What's sensible?
I guess regardless of your experience level, I'd always say no more than 2.
Mm.
Short answer.
Yeah. What would you advise someone who wants to transition from one type of role to another, for example, tech to product?
First thing probably that comes to my mind is maybe be ready to step back a little bit, maybe in the role title, maybe even in the compensation, but also maybe to start making first steps. Like there are so many courses, online courses, cheap, expensive, doesn't matter, but like to show your commitment to make that switch. I don't know if you've never done product, like for example, it's actually I'd never thought of that, but in the beginning of this year I took this 3-month course on the product development just because I wanted to understand what it takes to build a product, how to move from hypothesis zero to a pitch deck, and basically how can I support our product team in the company, in that journey. So that shows your commitment to make that switch, also that you're still interested in that once you've done some due diligence, some homework, basically. But yeah, I think it's also about sometimes you need to make that step back to make a leap forward eventually.
And on, I guess at a practical level, a lot of Web3 projects, whether it's startups or Series A, they're very interconnected. There's no defined hierarchies, obviously, in a lot of cases. So it could be a case where you lean into the show extra initiative in the product department and lean in a bit more. If you're a developer, for example, lean in more into the product team, helping them out, helping the head of product owners a bit more, so that you can make a more seamless pivot, whether it's within the project as it scales or whether it's in the next role.
Also, I think if it's within the company, like if you want to make this change in your company, start coming to the calls, for example, just to introduce yourself into the space, like what they're talking about, what the terms are. I think it's worth asking, people function, like HR function, if there are any openings, or for example, in our company, we've got this learning and development budget, right, that we can support our colleagues with their development needs and aspirations, and see if there is a potential space for this change. Even maybe sometimes you need to take something for free. I'm not saying that's the ultimate goal, but sometimes helping with, as Owen said, with some analytical probably task, because in product you can be like product analyst, for example, just to look at the data and how they measure things. It could be beneficial.
It's actually music to my ears as well to hear you speak in the last 5 minutes, in that you have a referral program in place, and you also have a learning and development budget as well. Two things that you'd rarely hear in Web3 projects, or Web3 related companies. So that's well done.
Well, yeah, we try to take care of our people.
Yeah, Neon HR team is just the best. It's kind of like, it's a rather small company, but the HR team operates on such a huge level, like it's a big tech company.
Thank you.
That's true.
Appreciate it.
I had a follow-up question to this. When we talked about all the resumes before, it was good to have some proof of interest, proof of work. And does it also apply here? Should you go out and try to find projects as, for example, a product manager before some freelance, some pro bono work before you apply for a real product manager's job?
Potentially, I'd say maybe, yeah. Like, for example, I'm just trying to think, if somebody's working for a foundation, for example, and there could be a project in that ecosystem that might need help with product, and they could again lean into one of the projects building within that ecosystem and help them out. So in certain cases, there is scope to multitask without abandoning your existing employer completely, I'd say.
I think anything that can help you, first of all, understand better for yourself if you want that job, if you want to make that switch, and also then to prove to a new employer or your current employer, but a different function, that you are actually committed to make that change, will help. Like, every little helps.
Yeah. Because I think that a hiring manager would consider this applicant in the same manner as everybody else who applies. And having no proof of work when you transition might work against you. So, yeah. Because there might be another product manager applying who actually worked as a product manager before and is not transitioning from tech.
True.
Yep. Okay, then the next question. As a junior front-end developer, Web2 and Web3, how do you position yourself when you're asked about salary range? I guess it's how to negotiate.
Right? Yeah, so if I may, I would say to that effect, if you're a junior front-end developer, this is where your network will really help you, in that you have somebody internally advocating for you, or somebody within an ecosystem, for example, advocating for you. This person can do the job. Again, good referral goes a long way. So already they have a major tick mark that they're justifiable of the role and potentially the salary as well. So again, instances like this is where where are great, in that somebody has already validated you, gotten you. Yeah, and I just find that when regards to salary expectations, again, this is where also independent contributions could really help your application as well. So again, it's a difficult one. But that being said, again, thankfully, a lot of projects are operating in jurisdictions now where salary transparency is mandatory, which is absolutely fantastic. But on the flip side to that is it's very, very difficult within this industry to ultimately benchmark, because again, it is very globally distributed. So again, there could be mid-level front-end roles at 2K per month, but there also could be more US leaning projects that might offer 10, 12K a month, for example, or even more some cases. So again, it is very, very difficult to utilize salaries, so or kind of put a salary range, especially in a junior front end with 2, 3 years experience, probably more of a mid-level. But yeah, I would just say go by market data, and I would say that if you're, I don't know. I'd be interested to know your own opinion, but I think that in the vast majority of cases that Web3 salaries are on average higher anyway than Web2, which is fantastic. Maybe that's not so much the case if you're based in New York or Zurich, but in the main, I would say that Web3 salaries are on average higher. But ultimately, yeah, it's compare and contrast, I guess, to some degree, but I wouldn't be overly relying on. I'd ultimately say trust your gut. That's the long end of it. Yeah.
Maybe, and like from the company perspective. So first of all, yes, do your benchmark. Have a look at what there is out there, like online. But from the company perspective, every role is benchmarked. Basically, we've got hubs, right? So the same like junior front end, we've got salary benchmarks like for every country where our people are based. So a junior front end, as Owen said, in Zurich or in New York would be different from a front end in maybe Bulgaria or I don't know, Russia, for example, because many things are different, right? Like the tax is different, the legislation is different, the level of life is different. So every role is differently priced. Also, from the company perspective, if you are applying to this role and you're asking less than what we have, I don't remember any case where I would go for so I would always offer what we have in the company. And yes, sometimes it would be more what you have asked for, but I wouldn't ruin my salary benchmarks because you asked for less. I would put you fairly because this is fair. This is what it costs in the market. And this is how I'm going to make sure that, first of all our people are treated equally. But second, when somebody reaches out to you from outside the company, headhunting you, offering the fair amount, you would stay with us because we are paying that fair amount. So yeah, benchmark your role in the country where you're applying from. And I guess if you want to try your luck and you're a junior front end but you're applying to a senior front end, you can do that. It's good to have the aspirations. I guess your experience, the way you position yourselves will be shown during the interview, and the right feedback would be delivered. But from the company perspective, we've got the salary ranges. We would propose what's right for this role in this market anyway.
And I guess with regards to sometimes, like if it's a very early stage project, for example, there could be scope to negotiate a deal. For example, if the project wants to hire you and they can't meet the salary expectations, it could be maybe potentially a larger upside, or maybe have it implied in the contract that it might be reviewed after 6 months or a year's time, for example, as well. So again, so sometimes there's ways to compensate if there is a discrepancy on salary sometimes as well. Yeah.
It's also worth
In a lot of
asking.
cases in the industry. No, I'm not asking. I'm just saying it's kind of generally speaking. I think a lot of earlier stage projects can kind of strike a deal, and it's rare that you might see kind of a deal breakdown. For example, say over a couple of thousand, for example, on a role, or sorry.
Yeah, what I'm saying also is it's worth asking during the interview about the internal like performance management processes, if there are any in place, because basically by asking is there a performance review or a salary review process, which means that you can change your sort of like initial package, right? But also it shows your commitment to deliver and grow in the company, because if there are such processes, which means you can grow, you can change your title, which often means that you've got different bands within one role, so you can upgrade your salary as well as your, for example, LTI. If there is LTI in the company, growing in role, which means a different package for your LTI. So that shows your commitment to grow in the company, as well as that you're ready to deliver. And it's like for the candidate, the company that has got like performance review process, salary review process, LTI, shows a very sort of sustainable company that takes care of people. Again, speaking about Neon.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, I think
Exactly.
Neon is a bit of I think Neon is in a league of its own in terms of HR processes across the industry. So yeah, no, I would say that way above average in terms of HR processes for sure.
Yep. And we got a comment about our previous question about transitioning from tech to product. Dan says, building a consumer-facing app as a side project is one of the best ways to transition from a tech role to product, since it forces you to connect the dots between users and the product. Makes sense, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now moving forward to the next question. Oh, sorry. How to write your resume to show statistics. Is this necessary? I think it's about impact that we talked about before.
Yeah, I think it's the impact and the KPIs, basically. Like if you showed a couple of numbers, it doesn't have to be like data-driven CV, but a couple of numbers could definitely help.
And it is necessary, right? It will definitely help.
Yeah, even in support functions like HR, I don't know, legal, you can always find, some metrics to show the impact.
Yep. And Owen, I'm so sorry. Do you have anything to add?
Not really, no. I guess when you illustrate statistics, just be prepared to answer those questions as well. How did you do it, and what was your role in that? Yeah. So again, I often so like if you have for example a statistic and you can't back it up, well, if I'm speaking to you as a recruiter or a hiring manager, I want to know effectively the backstory behind that and what was your role in it. And ultimately, some people are better communicators than others in articulating their role. So again, regardless of what level of experience you're at in your career, I think competency-based questions are fantastic for such situations, because and just hearing the sound of your own voice, talking over the answers, and just go by the STER format: the situation, the task, the action, and the result. So you're after showing the result. Now, what was the situation? What was the task at hand? And what was the action?
Yeah, great add-on, because we would definitely go into the question how. Like what did you do specifically to reach that number? What was the initial number? Maybe it's what's the market average? Like, why do you think this is a successful that you decided to highlight that during the in your CV? So yeah, be ready to back your story, to back your number with a story.
Have an alibi.
Okay,
and the last question, it comes from our comment section. Should past experience also be in the resume if the resume is in some other domain, or it should be more tailored for the job you pursue?
What other domain? Like irrelevant to the industry or to the job you're applying to?
Maybe
I mean,
if you're transitioning from security, for example, to I don't know, to Web3.
again, I'm always about being relative to what you like applying to, first of all, but I wouldn't delete that completely. Like I would probably leave it as one line, like this role in this company at this date, because again, that shows experience, right? It's not your gap in your career. It's just you did something else, and that might, in some cases, be helpful, like for your background, for your foundation. Oh, like they dealt with, I don't know, people, so we can actually consider them for a lead role because they can lead a small team. So, yeah, I would keep that, but very one line thing.
Do you have anything to add, Owen?
Yeah, so not necessarily, but I would say that again, like the great thing about this industry is that there is strong scope to pivot your career. I've seen marketers turn developers and vice versa, and ultimately to get a chance, whether it's maybe a small startup, for example, or whatever, just demonstrate proof of interest on your resume. That's the first thing, and then kind of be able to illustrate on your resume then kind of how skills can be transferable. And yeah, that's pretty much it. But again, I think that it depends on the discipline that you're coming from as well. For example, as well. So I can see in the next year, for example, I can see a lot of demand for data science people to work in Web3, where potentially previous Web3 experience mightn't be so relevant because they'll just be needed within the industry. So, for example, classic example was 2021 when Rust was, yeah, Web3 projects, blockchain projects would just take Rust developers from anywhere because they were just, well, within reason, obviously, not North Korea, obviously, but they would just take Rust developers from Web2 backgrounds, no problem whatsoever, because there are just so few of them out there, and very few of them with very few Web3 developers with Rust experience specifically back then. So yeah, it does depend on the discipline as well.
Okay, thank you so much. We've come to the end of our questions. And if I could ask just one last question from myself, would you, if you could give an advice in just a couple of sentences, just one major advice to job seekers who are drafting their resumes right now, what would it be?
Use AI wisely, adjust to every single role, ask for referrals, and have fun.
Yeah, so the recruiter in me would say ask for referrals, but don't over rely on job boards. Use them, but use them with a two-pronged approach. Start building your network in tandem, get people internally advocating for you, and yeah, keep upskilling and opportunities will come. And yeah, sometimes I think that sometimes it can be frustrating looking for a job. As Ilya earlier said it quite brilliantly, that looking for a job often
It's a
can feel like
full-time
a
job.
full-time job, and it is. So yeah, it can be very disheartening sometimes. And yeah, just keep upskilling and believing in yourself. And yeah, I think we're in for a good year, so hopefully more opportunities will follow. Yeah, because it has been like the industry kind of has been very much peaks and troughs over the last 2 years or so. Yeah.
Year and a half, yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for your advice, and I've had a great time talking to you today.
Same.
Again, Yeah, thank you for being here.
No,
And
yeah, really hope it's been helpful. And again, reach out if you've got more questions. Owen, thank you very much for joining us on this.
Likewise, pleasure. Thanks.
Yeah, an hour and a half just flew by, but yeah.
absolutely. And I've learned so much. Yeah. And thank you, viewers, for joining us here as well. Okay, bye.
Bye.